Welcome, brave hobbyists, to the Unpainted Horde, the podcast dedicated to celebrating and sometimes lamenting the glorious world of tabletop miniatures. I'm Finn.
And I'm Luna. We're here to wallow in the plastic shame alongside you and talk about some of the biggest and smallest miniatures games out there and all those in between. Each week, we'll be diving into rule sets, miniature ranges, painting tips, and everything else that fuels our plastic crack addictions.
All right, welcome to another Deep Dive.
Yeah.
And today we're going deep on Deth Wizards.
Yes, we are.
With, our target audience, veteran miniature gamers.
Yeah.
So we're going to skip all the, beginner stuff, right?
Yeah, straight into the strategy.
Get right into, what's going to get those necromantic juices flowing.
Yeah.
Enough to get you started.
Exactly. Just enough to get you going.
And leave you wanting more.
Yes.
Deth Wizards, you are a powerful necromancer.
That's right.
Leading a horde of undead.
Horde of undead.
To conquer the land of death.
Seems like fun.
Right. Now, there are two main ways to play. We got skirmish mode and story mode.
Yeah, so skirmish mode, you're facing off against other necromancers, so it's really just a tactical sandbox.
Head to head?
Yep, head to head. Really good way to test out different army compositions, powers, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then story mode. This is where you're going up against the forces of good, or I guess not evil. They would consider themselves good. You are clashing with the heroes that are defending their world from your ambitions.
Yeah.
So a little bit more of a narrative experience.
Yeah, a little more thematic.
Exactly.
So let's create a character, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
Using the Night King Necromancer legacy.
Very cool.
As our example.
Of the Night King.
So you've got 3 base stat options, each with its own, strengths, weaknesses.
That's right. And this is one of your first big decisions.
Yeah.
Deciding what kind of necromancer you're going to be.
Right.
Do you want to be speedy across the battlefield, taking out objectives? Or do you want to be that defensive stalwart, tough as nails, just standing there taking all the hits, Or do you want to go full magic, maximize those necromantic energy points? So it's a big decision right out of the gate.
Right away. Big decisions to be made.
Yeah.
So let's say for our Night King, we go with base stats 1, movement 5, offense 3, defense 6, resist 4, and a pool of 13 necromantic energy.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. You're going for, sounds like maybe a little bit of a mix.
Yeah.
But you're not going full magic, but you're not going full tank either.
Right.
But you're playing a Night King, and the Night King is all about overwhelming your enemy with just numbers, sheer numbers of bodies. So his unique ability, the Dreadmaster ability, allows you to control a bigger horde than the other necromancers.
Interesting.
But it restricts you to lower-rated undead.
Yeah.
You can't field anything higher than a rating 2, so this really makes you think differently about your army composition. Yeah. How do you maximize the impact of a horde when all of your units are individually weaker?
Yeah, so you really have to think about, what are your tactics going to be?
Exactly.
How are you going to overcome that?
Yeah.
Now, the Night King's unique power is Corpse Bomb. You sacrifice one of your minions, turning it into a walking bomb. The attack strength is based on the minion's remaining durability, so even a nearly destroyed minion can still pack a punch.
So even if it's just on its last legs?
1 durability left.
You can just, boom, blow it up,
Yeah.
send them, and, take out a couple of enemies, potentially.
Yeah.
So it's a really high-risk, high-reward type of ability.
Right. You really got to make some tough choices.
You do.
Okay. Minions.
Okay, minions.
Categorized by rating, 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
4 being the most powerful.
The big guys.
You start with a limited pool of 7 rating points.
Okay, so you don't start with a lot.
Right. For your initial horde.
Gotcha.
And you can never field more than 15 total rating points.
Okay.
In any given scenario.
Right.
So you really, again, back to the strategy.
Right, lots of strategy.
You have to really think about it.
Absolutely. So you're going into a scenario. You need to think about what you're going to bring because you have that hard cap.
Right.
And, also any minions you don't use, they're guarding your lair. So that's going to come into play later.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's imagine you're the Night King. You are going on a classic village raid.
Okay.
You've got your horde. What are you going to bring? What kind of minions?
All right. So I'm the Night King. I've got my eyes set on this juicy village.
Okay.
Ripe for the pillaging.
Sounds good.
So I'm going to take a couple of rating 2 butchers.
Oh, good choice.
Those guys are tough.
Those guys are tough. They got durability of 15.
Yeah. Perfect for leading the charge, soaking up all that damage.
They're going to hold the line. They're going to take all the hits.
Now, to really maximize the Night King's Dreadmaster ability,
Yes.
I'm going to add a swarm of rating 1 skeletons, zombies.
Yeah.
Just sheer numbers.
Oh, yeah. Classic zombie horde.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, their individual attacks might be weak, but there's a ton of them. And
Yeah.
especially with the Night King, leading them.
Yeah.
They're going to be flanking. They're going to be getting bonuses from his aura, so.
Yeah. Now, to add a little bit of tactical cunning, I might throw in a rating 2 Spectre.
Ooh, a Spectre. I like it.
Yeah.
A little bit of trickery.
Yeah, so they can phase through walls, terrain.
Yeah.
Perfect for flanking maneuvers, disrupt those ranged attacks. So a little chaos behind enemy lines.
Especially in a village.
Yeah.
Narrow streets.
Yeah.
Little houses.
Confined spaces.
And they can just poof right through.
So now let's talk about how we set up this village raid.
Right.
We're in skirmish mode, so you and your opponent would use these charts.
Okay.
Provided charts.
Gotcha.
To randomly generate the terrain. So you're never going to get the same battlefield twice.
Yeah. Keeps it fresh. Keeps it interesting. Keeps you on your toes.
And then there's the secondary objectives.
Okay.
Add another layer. Right?
Yeah. Love me some secondary objectives.
So some of these are pretty wild. You could have to steal the king's taxes.
Ooh, interesting.
By sneaking a minion into a specific building. Or maybe you have to raise a fallen enemy champion as your own.
Oh, that's awesome.
Turn their strengths against their former allies.
That's brutal. I love it.
Right. So it's not just about, wiping out your opponent.
No, you got to think outside the box.
Now, of course, you can't forget about those unusual occurrences. These are random events that happen before the battle, like an earthquake.
Ooh, an earthquake. That's a good one.
Right. Fissures in the terrain, plague of locusts.
Locusts wiping out units on both sides, potentially?
Right. As a little chaos.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
So once we've got all that, the terrain, the objectives, the occurrences, then we determine deployment zones, we set up our forces.
All right, so ready to go.
I'm assuming terrain placement is crucial here, just like any miniature war game.
Oh, yeah. Terrain is key. You want to use it to your advantage, create choke points, utilize any cover you can find, forests, buildings, position your ranged units on high ground so they've got a good line of sight.
So the stage is set.
Stage is set?
My Night King.
Yeah.
And his horde.
All right.
Ready to unleash chaos.
Let's do it.
Upon this unsuspecting village. How do turns actually work in Deth Wizards?
Okay. This is where Deth Wizards gets really, really interesting because it brings in a bidding system for turn order. And that adds a layer of resource management that you don't see in a lot of miniature games.
Oh, okay. So tell me more.
So at the beginning of each turn, every necromancer secretly bids a certain amount of their necromantic's energy, and whoever bids the highest gets to go first.
So I'm bidding against my opponent with the very energy I need to power my spells and abilities.
You got it.
Ooh, that's a tough choice.
Yeah. So right off the bat, you're making a strategic decision.
Right away.
Do you go big? Do you want to go first, seize that initiative, or do you kind of play it safe?
Right.
Hope your opponent overspends, leaving them vulnerable later.
Yeah, so this bidding system really adds this psychological layer
Oh, for sure.
to the game.
Yeah,
And it rewards those players who can kind of think ahead,
it does.
anticipate the opponent's moves, and manage their resources really well.
Exactly.
So once the bidding is settled, we know the turn order. How does activation work?
Okay, so each necromancer can activate their necromancer, obviously, and up to 4 rating points worth of minions. And here's the kicker. You can activate them in any order you want.
Oh, okay.
So that gives you a ton of flexibility.
Yeah. So do I send my butcher charging in first, followed by a barrage of arrows for my skeletons? Or do I teleport my specter behind enemy lines, softening them up before the main force arrives?
You got it. All of that is on the table.
All right. So many possibilities.
That's Deth Wizards, baby.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
So we've deployed our legions. We're staring our opponent down across this meticulously crafted terrain, ready for battle.
Yeah, those miniatures are looking good.
Right.
All painted up.
But how do we make them do our bidding?
All right, so the core actions, they're going to be familiar to anybody who's played a miniatures game. Moving, attacking, and using your special abilities.
Okay.
So in Deth Wizards, you're maneuvering your minions, engaging in melee combat, ranged combat, and unleashing those necromantic powers. But of course, there's some nuances to Deth Wizards.
Yeah, let's start with movement. We got our movement stats.
Right.
But I imagine terrain plays a big role here.
It does, it does. Terrain is not just window dressing in Deth Wizards. It really affects every part of the game.
Okay.
Forests, for example, provide cover for ranged units.
Okay.
Swamps can slow down your opponent's advance.
Right.
You can use ruins as strongholds for your minions.
Yeah, I see here that certain terrain features even have special rules.
They do, yeah.
Like swamps. Moving through a swamp reduces your movement by half.
Yeah, it's tough going.
Some swamps can even grab a hold of your minions.
Oh, that's nasty.
Forcing you to waste an action to break free.
So you really got to think about your movement, weigh the risks and rewards.
So do you risk the shortcut through that treacherous swamp, or do you play it safe and stick to the roads?
Exactly.
So my butcher has made it to the front line, ready to unleash some carnage. How does attacking work?
All right, so attacking, you're rolling dice. It's familiar, but there's a couple twists.
Oh, okay.
You roll a number of dice equal to your offense. Compare the results to your target's defense. And you inflict damage based on the number of successes.
So far, so good.
Right, pretty standard.
What are the twists?
Okay, so first, a roll of 10 is always a critical hit.
Okay.
Extra damage.
Oof.
But on the flip side, a roll of 1, that's always a critical fail. Automatic miss.
Oh, no matter what.
No matter what.
So there's always this chance.
Always a chance, yep.
Of a lucky or unlucky roll.
Keeps things interesting.
Right. Now, what happens if I'm attacking a necromancer directly?
Ah, good question. So necromancers, they don't take damage like other units. Instead, successful attacks, they reduce their necromantic energy.
Oh, so you're basically chipping away at their ability to cast spells.
Exactly.
Okay. So if I manage to drain a necromancer's energy completely, what happens then?
Well, they don't become a sitting duck. Any extra damage beyond their remaining energy spills over to their minions.
Oh, okay.
So this creates kind of a tough choice for attackers.
Yeah, do I focus fire on the necromancer, or do I go after the biggest threat on the board?
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked movement, attacking. Now let's talk about the real meat of Deth Wizards, the necromantic powers.
Ah, yes. The spells, the curses, the unholy rituals. This is where Deth Wizards, really gets thematic. And it's where you have tons of tactical options.
Tell me about them.
So you got your direct damage spells, like negative bolt, just a blast of dark energy.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. You got minion buffs. Night Shield will temporarily boost your unit's defenses, make them extra tough.
Okay, so you had damage and defense. What about utility?
Oh, we got utility too, like Shadow Switch.
Okay.
You can teleport a minion across the battlefield. So many possibilities there.
So many. I'm looking at restore energy.
Oh, yeah.
You sacrifice one of your minions to replenish your own energy.
That's a good one.
That's a tough choice.
It is. But it can be a game changer, especially if you're low on energy and need to, unleash a big spell to turn the tide.
Yeah, those moments where you're like, I need this to work.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered character creation, minion selection, scenario setup, turn structure. We even dove into the core actions. Movement, attacking, and using necromantic powers. We haven't even touched campaign play yet.
I know, right?
So how does all this come together in a longer-term campaign?
All right, well, this is where your choices really, start to have a big impact.
Okay.
This is shaping your necromancer's legacy, influencing the fate of death.
Right. It's not just winning battles. It's about building your power, expanding your influence. You're trying to conquer this realm.
Exactly. So at the heart of the campaign, you have your necromancer's lair.
Ah, yes. More than just a creepy hideout.
It is.
Right.
It's your base of operations, your source of power. It's where you, do all your necromantic stuff.
Right. And it grows over time.
It does. It does. It's an extension of you. Your lair is an extension of you.
I like that. So my choice of a starting lair has a big impact on how quickly I can build up this terrifying force.
Big impact. Huge. But it's not just about size. Each starting lair also comes with a special ability that can really affect your early game strategy.
Like what?
So, for example, the sewers.
Okay.
The sewers lair. You can double activate certain minions in your first few missions.
Double activation.
Double activation.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It is. It can really give you an edge early on. But there's a drawback.
Uh-oh. I knew there had to be a catch.
There's always a catch. You see, any minions that aren't in a mission, they're defending your lair.
Right.
So if you pick a lair that's, really focused on offense like the sewers, you might be leaving yourself open.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable, yeah. Someone might try to sneak attack your base.
So there's a trade-off.
It's always a trade-off.
Right. Do I prioritize a strong offense early on, Or do I make sure my base is secure while I'm out there conquering?
You got it. That's campaign play.
Wow. Okay, so I've chosen my starting layer. I've won a few battles. Starting to get some resources, experience.
Yeah. You're getting powerful.
How do I expand my layer?
Okay, good question. So layer expansion comes in the form of impedimenta. You can think of them like building blocks. You add new features and abilities to your base.
Okay, so what kind of impediment are we talking about?
So they can be, practical stuff. An armory, for example, to boost your minions' defenses.
Yeah.
Or you can go, more sinister, like a fungal garden that poisons your attacks.
Oh.
Or a research laboratory makes it easier to create minions.
So I can make a lair that's a fortress, a research lab, a poison factory, all rolled into one.
You got it.
I love it.
That's the beauty of it. You're customizing your lair to your playstyle.
This is starting to sound a little bit like a base building game.
In a way it is, but it's not like those traditional base building games where you're just sitting there, managing resources. In Deth Wizards, your lair is actively participating in the campaign.
Right.
It's giving you benefits. It's giving you strategic advantages.
It's not just a storage locker.
No.
For my bone collection.
It's like this living, breathing extension of your power.
I love it. So let's say I've just finished a battle. My minions are battered. My energy is depleted. But I won. What happens next?
All right. So after a battle, you've got your post-game progression.
Okay.
This is where everything kind of levels up and gets ready for the next challenge.
Okay. So first, I need to tend to my wounded minions.
Exactly. So you're rolling dice to see if they recover, or maybe they suffer some lasting damage, or, and this is the fun part, maybe they get an upgrade.
Upgraded minion.
Upgraded minion.
Okay, tell me every.
So let's say you're skeleton archer.
Yeah.
He suddenly gets the ability to fire 2 arrows per attack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? Or maybe your butcher, your big tough butcher,
Yeah.
he gets even tougher.
Nice.
He can just shrug off those blows that would have taken him down before.
So even my basic, low-level minions can become real assets.
They can, especially with the right upgrades.
Now, what about the minions that didn't make it?
The casualties. So you can choose to retire them.
Okay.
Opens up space for new recruits. And this is where we get to I think one of the most interesting parts of Deth Wizards, raising new undead.
Right. So this is how we replenish our ranks and maybe add some more powerful units.
Exactly.
So how does that work? Is it as simple as just going to a graveyard and shouting, "Rise, my minions"?
I wish it were that easy. You're rolling dice to see if your necromantic rituals are successful.
Oh.
And the more powerful the undead, the harder it is to raise.
Okay.
So you might be able to raise a ton of skeletons, no problem.
Yeah.
But if you want to summon a wraith, a bone giant, those big guys,
Right.
it's going to take a few tries. You might need some luck. Maybe even a sacrifice or two.
So now I've restored my minions, retired the casualties, hopefully added some new recruits. But what about my necromancer? How do they improve?
Good question. So this is where the experience you earned in battle comes in. You can spend that experience to improve your necromancer stats.
Okay.
Make them faster, stronger, more resilient, maybe even better at magic.
So I could create a necromancer who is a melee monster, or a speedy spellcaster, or a master summoner.
Exactly. You can really customize your necromancer to your playstyle.
Yeah.
And the best part is, as you level up, you unlock new necromantic powers.
Ooh. Okay. I'm looking at the list, and some of these are pretty scary.
They are.
Entropic power weakens enemy defenses every time I damage them with a spell.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. And Speed of the Fell Wind gives me a free move action once per turn.
So many possibilities.
Yeah.
You can really start to combine these things, your necromancer's growth, your minion selection, your lair upgrades.
It all comes together.
It all comes together.
I love it.
Okay.
We've talked about layers, upgrades, minion management, raising undead, even necromancer progression. What happens to my lair when I'm out there conquering?
That is a good question. And it leads us to lair assaults.
Oh.
So you remember how every minion you don't use is defending your lair?
Right.
Well, there's a chance that heroes will try to attack your base while you're away.
So my lair, my minions, my bone collection, it could all be at risk.
All of it, yeah. And the more missions you complete, the greater the risk of an assault.
So do I leave a strong garrison behind? Even if it means I have a weaker force in battle?
Tough choice.
Or do I gamble?
To gamble.
Hope they don't attack while I'm out conquering.
Yeah, maybe you can get away with it.
So many tough choices.
That's Deth Wizards. It's about strategic thinking on multiple levels. You gotta be adaptable, you gotta assess the risks. Weigh your options, make tough decisions.
This deep dive has been amazing.
I know, right?
Even for a veteran gamer like me.
Yeah.
We've barely scratched the surface, but I'm seeing all this potential.
Oh, yeah.
For epic campaigns. Is there anything else you want to share about the campaign system before we wrap up?
I think the big thing to remember is that Deth Wizards is more than just a miniatures game. It's really an experience. It pulls you into this world, you know?
Yeah.
You're a necromancer. You're thinking strategically.
Conquering. Yeah.
Building your empire.
It's a game that respects your experience as a veteran gamer, but it also offers, some twists and turns, and the strategy's deep. You're going to keep coming back for more, but it all starts with a single decision. Which Necromancer legacy are you going to choose?
Okay, we're back. Final chapter of our Deth Wizards deep dive. Character creation, minions, scenarios, turn structure, layer management, campaign progression. It's been a lot. But I think you saved the best for last.
I think we did. Let's break it all down.
Okay.
Into those key takeaways for our veteran miniature gamers. Because Deth Wizards, it's more than just cool minis and a fun theme.
Yeah.
It really challenges you strategically on multiple levels.
All right, lay it on me. What are those key takeaways?
First, that bidding system.
Yeah.
For turn order. You don't see that in a lot of miniatures games.
Right. It's not just about moving your guys and rolling dice. It's about you got to outsmart your opponent right from the start.
Right.
Do you spend big early or do you play it safe? Save your energy for later. It's a constant tension.
Yeah, you're always thinking, do I spend for initiative or do I save it for my powers?
Exactly. You're thinking ahead, anticipating your opponent's moves. You got to adapt, on the fly.
Yeah, love it.
And then there's so much variety in the Necromancer legacies and powers. There's a play style for everyone. You want to be a summoner. Flood the board with undead. Classic. Right. You want to control the battlefield. Debuffs, curses. You want to be a spellcaster. Just blow stuff up.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time with the Night King, the Horde Master.
Yeah, the Horde Master.
There's other legacies that sound really fun too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the War Reaper.
Oh, yeah, and the War Reaper. Up close and personal.
Melee monster.
Yeah. Or the Spirit Caller.
Ooh.
Phasing through walls. Tricky, right? Your choice of legacy, it's not just about theme. It really changes how you play the game.
How you build your army.
Exactly.
What strategies you use. Yeah. And then there's layer expansion and campaign progression.
Right. It's not just about those individual battles. You're building a legacy.
You're growing, yeah.
Expanding your influence. You want to dominate Deth.
Your layer becomes a reflection of your power.
It does.
And ambition.
Yeah.
Gives you benefits, enhances your armies, and it determines how far you can go.
And as you progress, you get those tougher choices.
Yeah. Do I sacrifice minions to power my spells? Do I risk leaving my lair undefended to go on the attack? Do I expand quickly, or do I build up my power slowly?
Right. Every choice you make has consequences. Shapes your campaign.
And it's all connected.
It is. It all ties together. Your legacy, your lair, your minions, your powers, even the terrain. It creates this really immersive experience. It's not just moving models around. You're a necromancer, making those big decisions, forging your destiny in Deth. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap up? Don't be afraid to experiment. Try different legacies, different armies. See what works for you. Find those synergies between your powers, your minions, your lair.
Yep.
Embrace the challenge.
Deth is waiting for you.
It is.
All right, that's our Deth Wizards deep dive. Hope you enjoyed this journey into strategic necromancy.
Go forth. Summon your legions. Become a master of the undead.
We'll see you next time on the deep dive. Well, that's all the time we have for this week, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Unpainted Horde. We hope you learned something, and maybe even feel a little bit better about that mountain of unpainted miniatures looming over you.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us spread the word and justify our addiction. Until next time, may your dice rolls be ever in your favor, and may your primer coats be thin.
This podcast was created with significant help from Google Notebook LM.